It's time for the Comic Bin Comic Book Podcast. The podcast you look forward to for all of your news and reviews of the best comic books hitting stands. Whether it's DC,
Batman, Wonder Woman,
Marvel,
Spider-Man,
Image,
Spawn, Saga,
Boom,
Once and Future, Power Rangers,
or whatever book or publisher you follow,
we cover them all here.
this is the place for you.
That's right, it's for everyone.
This is the Comic Bin Comic Book Podcast.
Let's get it.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Comic Bin Comic Book Podcast. I am your host, Theo, reporting in from the Big Easy. I am here in my hometown of New Orleans, Louisiana, and this is my day one recap of GalaxyCon New Orleans. This is GalaxyCon's inaugural event in the Big Easy, and so I'm happy that they allowed me to cover the event for the podcast and for the website. And so again, this is going to be my day one recap. As you saw from the short as I walked around the convention center on today, there was something that was a little bit different than what I've seen in the past over at the convention center, specifically for Wizard World back in the day, and more recently with Fan Expo. So for this year's event, for GalaxyCon's first event here in the city, it is being held in Halls D&E, which is not like the other events that have been held, which are typically from a hall G through I. So it's usually the bigger halls at the end of the convention center. But D&E is pretty spacious, and things were really laid out really well with a lot of space for people to get around. So I'm going to see how that plays out on tomorrow for day two, which is more than likely going to be the busiest day, being a Saturday. So again, that first day being on a Friday, it was a little bit light for a visitor standpoint. There weren't as many people there, but there were a couple of extenuating circumstances going on as well. There was a huge line of thunderstorms that came in right around the time that the doors opened for the event to begin. So that probably kept a few people at home and under shelter to be safe and dry, because it was kind of bad, and I walked over from my hotel, probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and doors opened at 2. So that kind of shows you how that line of storms really affected things. And so I am expecting things to be much better the second time around as we get into day two on Saturday. And really expecting it to be a really good show. I'm hoping that it is a much better turnout. But just looking at things from a vendor standpoint, there were not as many vendors as I am used to seeing at an event such as this, and that's okay. I am going to make the assumption that GalaxyCon is intentionally making things light for this first year, just so that they can get an idea of what the city has to offer, so that they can do better planning for future years as they make their return. But yeah, it was a little light on the vendor side. They had Artist Alley kind of in the middle of Halls D&E, so there was like right smack in the middle, maybe a little bit further back. I was able to really stop and talk to a lot of the creators that were there, including John Jackson Miller, of course, who wrote Batman Resurrection. So just so that you know, the follow-up to that, Batman Revolution or Revelation has been completed. It will be due out in October, so I am looking to have Mr. Miller, John Jackson Miller, back on the show to talk about the sequel to Batman Resurrection. So had a good conversation with him. The one person that I didn't get a chance to speak with on today was Christopher Priest, and he didn't have a lot of people at his table, but those that were there, he really spoke to for a long time. Now, I did have a good conversation with Steve Orlando, who was there. He was there with his fiance, and we had a good time talking. We probably ended up talking more about wrestling than about comics, and that's simply because both WWE and AEW have events this weekend. So over at AEW, there's All In out in Texas. That'll be on tomorrow. But WWE has their counter programming scheme going on. So whenever AEW is having these big events, they're going to try to counter it with some events as well. So for WWE, they are doing both the Great American Bash as well as Saturday night's main event on tomorrow. And then on Sunday, they're going to be doing their all-women Evolution 2 out there in Atlanta, Georgia. So we spent a lot of time talking more about wrestling than anything, but we did talk about comics. There was this one guy who was at the table who was getting some books signed, and man, it looked like he had the entire run of Steve Orlando's Marauders series from when the Krakoa era was going on, that started with Hocus Pocus and everything that Jonathan Hickman did. But I mean, he just had them all stacked right there, and he was just going through them. But good conversation with him. I did also get a chance to speak with DeClane Shelby, and we talked about a few things. I am going to have him on the show in the future to talk about Thundercats and a couple of other things, the projects that he is also working on. And then, ironically, Ron Norton, who did the art for the latest issue of Star Trek's Lower Decks, he's also in attendance this year, and so he and I had a good time talking about that issue. I actually allowed him, I'm sorry, it's Vernon Smith. I actually allowed him to read the review that Adam wrote for the website for the issue, and he pointed out, that a lot of the Easter eggs that we saw in that issue were Easter eggs that he thought of himself. So there was some that I did not see, but there were a good bit that I did, and so it's always good when we're able to acknowledge things. And I want to thank Adam for doing such a great job of pointing out those Easter eggs in his review. If you haven't read it, it's up on the website. But on tomorrow, on Saturday, that is the big day, I am hoping that the crowd is much bigger than what it was on yesterday. I'm expecting it to. Again, there was just a lot of stuff going on, especially with the weather. And again, despite it being in the afternoon, Fridays are usually the lightest day. Now, here is something that is quite different with GalaxyCon than what you may witness at Fan Expo. It is more in line with what happens at San Diego. GalaxyCon does stuff all through the night, and when I say all through the night, I mean upwards of 1, 2, maybe even 3 o'clock in the morning. They have events going on, and they specifically call it GalaxyCon After Dark. So I did not go to any of those events. It had just been a long day for me, both Thursday and on Friday. So when I got back to the hotel, I crashed and got up again to do this episode and I'm gonna crash again. So to make sure that I am in a better framework so I can move around freely on Saturday for day 2. So for day 2 or for Saturday, I was looking at the panels that are on the schedule thus far. There are a lot of cosplay events. So if you're watching this now and it is Saturday, both Saturday and Sunday, they have a ton of cosplay events. And of course, as with any con, they're based on a theme. So, you got a Dan cosplay meetup, Naruto, if you're fans of DC and Star Trek, all of that's going on this weekend. So it's spread out throughout Saturday and Sunday. So if you get a chance to come on over to the convention center, make sure you dress up in your cosplay best. Who won't be doing that is me, of course. I don't do cosplay, but that is my plan. To take a look at some of those cosplay meetups. The other panels are somewhat different. There are a lot of Q&As going on. Again, I think GalaxyCon was intentional in how they put their schedule together this year, considering it is the inaugural show. So I would expect that next year, as they see how things play out this year, we'll see something more, and we'll see the genres more well represented. Just looking at everything, there was barely anything from a comic book standpoint, but I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, take part in looking at the cosplay meetups. I'll take a few photos and upload them to our Instagram page. So be on the lookout for that beginning on tomorrow as we get into day 2. But that is going to do it for this quick recap of GalaxyCon 2025, their inaugural event in New Orleans, Louisiana. I will be back again probably tomorrow with a recap of day 2, which again I am expecting to be a much busier day from the standpoint of pictures and speaking to folks. And until then, I am signing out, and until we meet again, keep reading those comics. That is going to do it for this episode of the Comic Ben Comic Book Podcast. I'd like to thank you all for your continued support of the program. The Comic Ben Podcast, as well as the Comic Book Spot, are a part of the Comic Book Source family of sites and media. You can follow the podcast on Twitter X at comic_Ben, or my personal account at BatmanFan_4Life. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. We're all over social media. You can also follow our sister site over at thebatmanuniverse.net for all of your news and reviews in the world of Batman. Tune in next time as we give you more in the world of comic books. Again, we truly appreciate your support. But until we meet again next time, keep reading those comics.